My parents gave my $30,000 college fund to my brother for a luxury vacation. When I showed them my tuition papers, they said, "You'll figure it out." That was 6 weeks ago. Yesterday, they begged me to help with their eviction notice. So yeah, this is going to be a long one, but stick with me because this whole situation is absolutely wild, and I'm still processing everything that went down. 6 weeks ago, I was sitting at our kitchen table with my acceptance letter to State University, and all my financial aid paperwork spread out like I was doing taxes or something. I'd been working my tail off at Target for 2 years, saving every penny I could while maintaining a 3.8 GPA, and I was finally ready to make my college dreams happen. The tuition was going to be about $28,000 for the year, and I knew my parents had been putting money away in my college fund since I was like 12. My mom was making her famous spaghetti, the kind that comes from a jar, but she adds her own seasonings and acts like it's some family recipe passed down through generations. Dad was channel surfing between ESPN and some History Channel show about aliens building the pyramids. Normal Tuesday night vibes, right? "Hey, Mom, Dad," I said, spreading out the paperwork. "Can we talk about the college fund? I need to send in my deposit and first semester payment by next Friday." The silence that followed was so thick you could have cut it with a butter knife. My mom stopped stirring the sauce, and my dad actually put down the TV remote, which honestly should have been my first red flag because that man treats that remote like it's made of solid gold. My brother walked in right then, all smiles and carrying his laptop. He's 3 years older than me, works part-time at some local car dealership, and has this annoying habit of acting like he's got life all figured out when he's still living at home and asking Mom to do his laundry. "Oh, perfect timing," Mom said, and I swear her voice got all weird and shaky. "We need to have a family discussion. Family discussion. Those two words together never mean anything good, and every kid knows it. It's like when your boss says they want to touch base, or when someone starts a sentence with, "Don't take this the wrong way," but Dad cleared his throat like he was about to give some big speech. "Honey, your brother has an incredible opportunity. His buddy from work, Tyler with the Camaro, well, his family owns this travel agency, and they hooked him up with this amazing deal to go to Europe for 3 weeks. All expenses paid, luxury hotels, first-class flights, the whole 9 yards. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, cool, good for him. But what does this have to do with my college fund? The thing is," Mom jumped in, wringing her hands like she always does when she's nervous, "it's not exactly all expenses paid. They need $30,000 up front, but Tyler's family promised they'll pay it back within 6 months, maybe sooner." My stomach dropped faster than a roller coaster at Six Flags. I could feel where this conversation was heading, and I did not like the destination one bit. "We used your college fund," Dad said. Just like that. No build-up, no apology, nothing. Just dropped it on me like he was telling me what we were having for dinner. For a solid 30 seconds, I couldn't speak. I just sat there staring at them like they'd told me they sold our house to buy lottery tickets or something equally insane. "You... what?" I finally managed to get out. "It's only temporary," my brother said, and he had the audacity to look excited about it. "Tyler's family is super reliable. They own like 3 different businesses. I'll pay you back way before you even need the money for college." "I need the money now," I said, pointing to the paperwork in front of me. "Like, literally, right now. The deadline is next Friday." Mom reached over and patted my hand like I was 5 years old and upset about not getting ice cream. "Sweetie, you're so smart and resourceful. You'll figure something out. Maybe you can take a gap year, work full-time, save up some money." A gap year? I could feel my voice getting higher. "Mom, I've been planning this for years. I've already been accepted. I have orientation in 2 months. Or you could take out student loans," Dad suggested, like that was some brilliant solution he'd just thought of. "Lots of kids do that nowadays." "With what credit? I'm 18 and I work part-time at Target. No bank is going to give me $30,000 without a cosigner, and even then, I'd be paying it back for the next 20 years. My brother was already pulling up pictures on his laptop. "Look at this hotel in Paris. It's got a rooftop pool and everything. This is literally a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." I stared at him, then at my parents, then back at him. You know what else is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? Getting a college education, something I've been working toward for 4 years, while you've been playing video games and barely graduating high school. "That's not fair," he said, but he couldn't even look me in the eye. "Fair?" I laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh you make when you realize the people you trusted most in the world just completely screwed you over. "What's not fair is giving away my future so you can take Instagram photos in front of the Eiffel Tower." Mom started crying then, those dramatic tears she pulls out whenever she doesn't want to deal with conflict. "We're a family. Families help each other. Your brother promised he'd pay it back. When? When is he going to pay back $30,000? He makes like $12, and we're selling used cars. Tyler's family is going to pay us back," my brother insisted. "They're super rich. Then why don't they just pay for your trip themselves if they're so rich?" Silence. Nobody had an answer for that one. Update. Posted this story earlier, and wow, the response has been incredible. Thank you all for the support and advice. A lot of you have been asking what happened next, and honestly, I'm still processing everything. The conversations with my aunt really opened my eyes to some family dynamics. I'd been blind to my whole life. But here's my question for you all. When someone shows you who they really are, do you believe them the first time, or do you give them chances to prove you wrong? That night, I called my Aunt Sarah. She's my mom's sister, lives about an hour away, and has always been the cool aunt who remembered birthdays and actually listened when I talked about my dreams and plans. I told her everything, and there was this long pause before she said, "Pack your bags. I'm coming to get you tomorrow." Aunt Sarah, I can't just leave. Yes, you can, and you should. I've been watching your parents play favorites for years, and I'm done staying quiet about it. Turns out, Aunt Sarah had some opinions about my family that she'd been keeping to herself, like how my parents had never made my brother get a job in high school, how they'd bought him a used Honda Civic for his 16th birthday, while I'd been told I needed to save up for my own car, and how they'd been making excuses for his mediocre grades while expecting straight A's from me. "They've been setting you up to be the responsible one while treating him like he's made of glass," she said. "And now they want you to sacrifice your future for his vacation? Absolutely not." The next morning, while my parents were at work and my brother was sleeping until noon like always, I packed everything important into 2 suitcases and a couple of boxes. My laptop, my books, my clothes, and all the documentation for college. I left a note explaining that I was staying with Aunt Sarah until I figured out my next steps, and that I needed space to process what had happened. My phone started blowing up around 2 p.m. when they got home and found the note. Missed calls, text messages, voicemails, Mom crying, Dad demanding I come home immediately, my brother asking why I was being so dramatic over money. Dramatic over money. Like it wasn't my entire future we were talking about. Aunt Sarah's house felt like a sanctuary. She'd already cleaned out her guest room, set up a little desk area for me to work on college stuff, and even bought my favorite coffee creamer. She worked from home doing some kind of consulting for tech companies, so she was around during the day, but she gave me space when I needed it. "Your parents are gonna realize what they lost," she told me over dinner that first night. "But you don't owe them forgiveness just because they're family." The next few days were a blur of phone calls and research. I called the financial aid office at the university and explained my situation. The counselor was incredibly understanding and helped me apply for emergency aid, work-study programs, and additional scholarships. Turns out there were several programs specifically for students whose families had withdrawn financial support unexpectedly. I also called the Target store where I worked and asked about transferring to a location closer to Aunt Sarah's house. My manager, who'd always been cool about working around my school schedule, helped me set up a transfer and even put in a good word about my work ethic. My parents kept calling and texting, but the messages started changing tone after about a week. At first they were angry and demanding. Then they got sad and guilt-trippy. Then they started getting worried. "Your brother left for his trip," Dad texted me. "He said to tell you he's sorry and he'll pay you back as soon as he gets home." Cool. He was sorry. That and $5 would get me a coffee at Starbucks. 3 weeks into staying with Aunt Sarah, I got a call from Mom. She sounded different, stressed in a way I'd never heard before. "Honey, I need to ask you something," she said. "You know how you used to help us with the computer stuff, like paying bills online and organizing our budget spreadsheets?" Yeah, I knew. I'd been basically managing their finances since I was 15 because neither of them could figure out online banking and they kept forgetting to pay bills on time. "What about it?" "Well, we're having some trouble figuring out some stuff, and we noticed that the mortgage payment didn't go through last month, and now there's all these late fees and penalties, and we can't figure out how to log into the account." I listened to her explain their financial mess, and honestly, it was worse than I'd thought. They'd been living paycheck to paycheck for months, using credit cards to cover basic expenses, and apparently I'd been the only thing standing between them and total financial chaos. "Can you come home and help us sort this out?" she asked. "Mom, I'm trying to figure out my own life right now. I need to focus on college applications and work, but we're your parents. We need your help." "Did you need my help when you gave away my college fund?" Silence. Update. The support from everyone here has been overwhelming in the best way possible. Your stories about similar family situations have helped me realize I'm not alone in this. Several people asked about the scholarship applications and whether I heard back. I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say hard work and persistence sometimes pay off in ways you don't expect. My question for this update: how do you rebuild trust with people who've broken it, especially when they're family? A month later, my brother came back from Europe. Based on his Instagram posts, he'd had an amazing time. Photos of him in fancy restaurants, designer hotel rooms, tourist spots in Paris, Rome, and Barcelona. He looked happy and relaxed, like he didn't have a care in the world. The day after he got back, he called me. "Hey, so I talked to Tyler's family about the money," he said, jumping straight to the point. "And? So there's been a little hiccup with their travel agency. Something about a lawsuit or whatever. They can't pay us back right now, but Tyler's dad says it's just temporary." I closed my eyes and counted to 10. Define temporary. Maybe a year, 2 at most, but they're totally good for it. Tyler's dad drives a BMW and their house is huge. A year or 2. "Yeah, but listen, I'll start paying you back myself. I can probably give you like $200 a month once I get my next paycheck." I did the math in my head. $200 a month for $30,000. Would take him 12.5 years, assuming he never missed a payment, which seemed unlikely given his track record with literally everything else in his life. "That's assuming you actually follow through," I said. "Of course I will. You're my sister. I was your sister when you took my college fund too." He got quiet then. Look, I know you're mad, but it's not like I planned for this to happen. Tyler's family seemed super reliable. Did you even research them before you asked Mom and Dad to give them $30,000? Tyler said they were good for it. So you trusted the word of some guy you work with part-time at a car dealership over your sister's education. It's not like that. That's exactly like that. The call ended pretty awkwardly, and I didn't hear from him again for a while. But I kept hearing from my parents, and their situation was getting worse. Apparently, without me there to handle their online banking and keep track of due dates, they'd missed several more payments on various bills. Their credit score was tanking, they were getting threatening letters from creditors, and they were behind on both the mortgage and their car payments. We really need you to come home, Dad said during one particularly desperate phone call. Just for a weekend. Help us get organized. Dad, there are people you can hire to help with financial planning. It's called a financial advisor. Those people are expensive. Your family. Family. I repeated the word slowly. Like when I was family and you gave my college money to my brother for a vacation. That's different. How? He couldn't answer that either. Meanwhile, amazing things were happening in my life. The university's financial aid office had come through with an emergency scholarship that covered about half my tuition. I'd been accepted into a work-study program that would cover my room and board in exchange for working in the campus library, 20 hours a week. And Aunt Sarah had offered to help with the remaining costs as an early inheritance, as she put it. Your grandmother left me some money when she passed, she explained. I've been saving it for something important, and I can't think of anything more important than your education. I cried that day. Happy tears, grateful tears, tears of relief that maybe everything was going to work out after all. I was also killing it at my new job. The Target near Aunt Sarah's house was in a busier area, and I'd been promoted to a team lead position, which came with better hours and higher pay. My manager there was actually encouraging me to apply for their college tuition assistance program. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. Like I had control over my own life and future. That's when my parents showed up at Aunt Sarah's house unannounced. I was doing homework in the guest room when I heard voices downstairs, and then Aunt Sarah knocked on my door. Your parents are here, she said, and her tone made it clear she wasn't happy about it. They were sitting in the living room looking uncomfortable and out of place. Mom's eyes were red like she'd been crying, and Dad looked like he'd aged 5 years in the 2 months since I'd left home. We need to talk, Mom said as soon as she saw me. Okay. We're getting evicted, Dad said bluntly. We have 30 days to figure something out or we lose the house. I looked at them, then at Aunt Sarah, who was standing in the doorway with her arms crossed. I'm sorry to hear that, I said. We need your help, Mom continued. We need you to co-sign for a loan, or maybe you could move back home and help us with the monthly expenses. The audacity was breathtaking. They wanted me to legally tie myself to their financial mess after they destroyed my plans for college. No, I said simply. No. Dad's voice went up an octave. We're your parents. We raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head for 18 years, and I'm grateful for that. But you also gave away my future without a second thought. It was supposed to be temporary, Mom said, starting to cry again. A lot of things are supposed to be temporary. Your eviction notice is temporary too. You have 30 days to figure it out. We can't get approved for any loans with our credit score, Dad said, and we can't afford the payments on our own. Then maybe you shouldn't have given $30,000 to someone you barely knew. Aunt Sarah stepped into the room then. I think it's time for you both to leave. Sarah, stay out of this, Mom snapped. This is about our family. She is family, Aunt Sarah shot back, and she's been more mature and responsible in the last 2 months than either of you have been. In years. My parents left that day angry and defeated. They kept calling and texting over the next few weeks, but their messages became increasingly desperate and manipulative. They tried guilt trips, anger, bargaining, promises they couldn't keep. 3 weeks later, I got a text from my brother. Mom and Dad had to move in with Grandma and Grandpa. They lost the house. I felt bad for them, I really did. But I also felt free. Like I'd finally stopped carrying the weight of their poor decisions. Update. This is probably my final update, unless something major happens. I've gotten so many messages asking how everything turned out, and I'm happy to share that there's light at the end of this tunnel. College starts in 3 weeks, and I'm more excited than nervous for the first time in months. Thank you all for following this crazy journey and for all the encouragement. My final question, when you finally choose yourself over people who don't choose you, how do you handle the guilt, even when you know you made the right decision? That was 6 months ago. I'm finishing up my first semester of college now, and honestly, life is pretty amazing. My grades are solid, I love my work-study job at the library, and I've made some incredible friends. Aunt Sarah and I have gotten even closer, and she's basically become the mom I never knew I needed. My brother eventually moved in with Grandma and Grandpa too, since he couldn't afford his own place on his car salesman salary. Turns out Tyler's family's travel agency did go out of business and they filed for bankruptcy so that $30,000 is never coming back. Who could have seen that coming, right? My parents have reached out a few times, usually around holidays or when they need something. They've never apologized, not really. They've said they're sorry I'm still upset, and that they hope I can move past this someday, but they've never acknowledged that what they did was fundamentally wrong. I've started seeing a counselor through the university's health services, and she's helped me understand that I don't owe anyone forgiveness just because they're family. She's also helped me see patterns in my family that I'd been blind to my whole life, how I'd been the responsible one, while my brother got to be the fun one who never faced consequences for his actions. Last week, I got an email from the dean's office. I'd been selected for a merit scholarship based on my first semester grades and a recommendation from my supervisor at the library. It's not a huge amount, but it's enough to cover my textbooks and meal plan for next semester. I called Aunt Sarah to tell her the good news, and we both started crying happy tears over the phone. "You did this," she said. "You chose yourself. You worked hard, and you're building the life you deserve." My parents don't know about the scholarship. They don't know about my grades, or my job promotion, or the fact that I'm thinking about majoring in business administration with a focus on financial planning. They don't know that I've been helping Aunt Sarah organize her own finances as practice, or that I'm already thinking about graduate school. They don't know because they never ask. When they call now, it's always about their problems, their stress, their financial situation. Never about how I'm doing or what I'm learning or whether I'm happy. And you know what? I am happy. Really, genuinely happy in a way I don't think I ever was when I was living at home and managing everyone else's problems. My brother sent me a friend request on Facebook last month. I haven't accepted it yet, and I'm not sure I will. Some relationships can be repaired, but others are too broken to fix, and it's okay to walk away from people who consistently show you that their comfort matters more than your future. I still think about that night at the kitchen table sometimes, when they told me they'd given away my college fund. How casual they were about it, like my dreams didn't matter as much as my brother's vacation photos. It was the moment I realized that love isn't always enough, and that sometimes the people who claim they want what's best for you are actually just looking out for themselves. But I also think about all the good things that came from that terrible moment. Meeting my amazing advisor at school, getting closer to Aunt Sarah, learning that I'm stronger and more capable than I ever knew, discovering that I can build a good life for myself without depending on people who don't value me the way I deserve to be valued. College is expensive, and I'm working hard to pay for it, but it's my education, funded by my work and merit scholarships and people who actually believe in me. Nobody can take it away from me or give it to someone else because they feel like it. That's worth more than $30,000. That's worth everything.